breaking news here on the Cowboys Reports, because this team always does roster moves when I'm doing other things like live on NFL Daily for Chat Sports. They've made some roster moves. We will break those down for you right here on today's show. Technically, it's 3 of them, but it's really 4. I'll explain why in a second. First up, Carl Lawson is going to make his way to the active roster from the practice squad. This should not be a surprise. He has been a game day call-up 3 times already. He's out of call-ups to play again. He has to be on the active roster. He's going to come on up. I expect to see the official announcement on Marshawn Kneeland going to IR probably tomorrow. None of these is going to be made official until tomorrow. They were all reported by ESPN's Todd Archer after the league day ended, so they're not going to do stuff after hours officially. So you should see Kneeland go on IR. This was not reported yet, but it's the logical move there. That leaves 2 open practice squad spots. To fill those, Seth Williams is joining the practice squad, a wide receiver, former draft pick, and pass rusher Luiji Vilain. It is Vilain, not Villain, but still kind of a cool name either way. We'll break down all of these moves here more in depth. It is worth mentioning, however, that there are no practice squad cuts needed to make space for that. They promoted Nick Vigil to the 53-man roster earlier last week. That was 1 spot. Carl Lawson now coming up creates 2. When any Cowboys news breaks, we break it down here for you on the Cowboys Report. So do not miss out. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/CowboysTV. It's the 3rd video of the day, after all. Now, on Marshawn Kneeland, he underwent surgery today, I believe, for a partially torn meniscus. Shouldn't be season-ending, but it might result in, and I think it will result in him going to injured reserve. And that will put him out for 4 games, which will be at least 5 weeks, given the Cowboys' bye coming up in a little bit. Carl Lawson had been promoted 3 times already and is now going to join the 53-man roster because they needed the depth at defensive end. They didn't have the bodies to get by, and they needed him up there with Lawson and Parsons and Tank Lawrence, Sam Williams all hurt. It is the backups who are starting in Dallas at the pass rusher grouping. So of the roster moves, again, we'll break down the 2 new guys who might not be familiar with and the other guys they worked out. What's your one-word reaction to these roster moves? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. 1 word and 1 word only to the roster moves. Let's talk Luiji Vilain here. He has signed to the Cowboys practice squad. Michigan originally, transferred to Wake Forest, where he had a pretty sizable breakout in the final year of his career. I have my draft notes in front of me. Listed at Atlanta College, was 6'3" and change, 255, so they rounded up for the most part there. Had 9 TFLs, 8 sacks in his final collegiate year at Wake Forest. He was a 24-year-old draft pick, was actually born and raised from Canada. Didn't enter the U.S. until before his junior year of high school. It was all traits coming out. He was still very raw. He was kind of win right away, had no real pass rush plan. The technique was not great, but the traits were intriguing. Great athletic ability, good arm length, good size. So much the Cowboys like that. This is a dart throw. He probably looked really good athletically in the workout. That's my guess as to why he signed over Shaka Toney, who they also worked out. I'll talk about that list later on. Again, an undrafted free agent out of Wake Forest. Signed with the Vikings practice squad, or roster, was on their practice squad. Spent parts of 2 years there. Was with Carolina in 2023 and briefly spent time in Cleveland this past year, but they moved on from him. Coming out of Wake Forest, I had a UDFA grade on Vilain. It was just an older project, and as I've said many times on our draft coverage here at Chat Sports, I typically don't like the older projects because I think that the upside is less valuable. Also worth mentioning, folks, it is a practice squad signing, and I will never, ever be mad at a practice squad pickup because it's just the practice squad. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is just designed better than any other daily fantasy sports app out there. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It is available in over 30 states, including California, Georgia, and Texas as well. So perfect for all you Cowboys fans out there. Here's one of my college football Prize Picks slates. I keep taking Travis Hunter more than receiving yards, and he keeps on getting there. I like the Will Howard less than passing yards. I'm not sold on the Ohio State consistent aerial attack yet. I think Jordan James could be in for a nice game as well. Oregon, I'll take the 8.5 more than rush and receiving yards. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Simply go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get that $50 bonus. Again, folks, the link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Just remember, prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play 5. Cowboys adding another bigger-bodied receiver to the practice squad. That is Seth Williams out of Auburn. Now, Williams had some fans coming out of Auburn. He ended up being a 6th-round pick in 2021. I actually had him at 6'3", 211 coming out. So maybe some rounding there with the heights, etc. Fresh out of Tuscaloosa, went to Auburn. Not very common for that one. Again, I consult my draft notes here. There is some intriguing traits. You know, the 6'3", 210 guy that runs sub 4.5 is valuable. He was only the 4th player to have 2,100 yards at Auburn in the program's history. He dropped some weight in college, too, despite having not good quarterback play. He was willing to block, but he didn't have a good game against J.C. Horn. I think he's more straight-line than everything else. He dropped too many passes. I was not as high on Seth Williams as some of the consensus was. I actually had a lower 5th-round grade on Seth Williams, who ended up being drafted in the end. That 5th-round grade was a little bit lower than some people. But again, practice squad, big size. Doesn't run in the 4.5s. I call that a win for a team that consistently has those guys on the roster, and it very much frustrates me time in and time out. I've never been a big fan of it. Most recently was with the Jaguars, by the way. So grade the Cowboys roster moves, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Now, those 2 players are not the only ones who worked out today for the Cowboys. They worked out 3 different receivers, and they thought Seth Williams was the most impressive. Dante Pettis, Chase Cota. I will say Todd Archer reported that as Chad Cota. I think that was just a veteran NFL reporter got confused because that's his dad. I don't think they worked out his dad. I think they worked out the receiver, Chase Cota. Denzel Mims. So, again, they picked Williams over Denzel Mims. I am willing to bet he didn't have the best workout. Shaka Toney also worked out. They did work out Max Duggan, which, as near as I've been able to gather, that was just because they needed somebody to throw passes, and Duggan lives in the area. Is pretty much what they did there. And it gets Duggan a chance to get some eyes on him and maybe get some good reviews back to other teams too. So it makes sense for all parties involved, but they weren't looking to sign the quarterback. There was no Trey Lance trade conspiracy there, folks, I promise you. I will say, working out the receiver and signing one makes me slightly worried about Brandon Cooks. We'll see when he gets back. Is obviously on IR with that infection from his knee. I don't really have a timeline for that. It's going to be at least 4 more weeks till he's back at minimum because he went on IR. It's 4 games. There's the bye week in there. And I think they wanted one more receiver just in case somebody else went down in that time frame, I suppose. Loved, need more from Lamb. Loved what I saw from Tolbert. I thought Turpin was better as a pure receiver. They gave a handful of reps to Ryan Flournoy, Jalen Brooks. But I am just like, I'm just going to monitor it. Let's put it that way. Pass rusher rise, I mean, my God, you are decimated. This week, you're not going to have Micah Parsons. You're not going to have Tank Lawrence. Again, have not officially put Marshawn Kneeland on IR, but probably soon. And probably maybe before the video is fully finished if you're watching it now. So that leaves Chauncey Golston, KJ Henry, Tyra Sweet, Carl Lawson. You just didn't have the bodies on your practice squad. You wanted to get somebody in there to start learning the playbook just in case something happens. Because with Lawson now called up, you have no other pass rushers on your practice squad. You don't need a ton of them because Michael will be back soon and Kneeland and Tank are not out for the season, but the injury decimation has been very real for Dallas.